Welcome to Rich Keys Trading Channel, where we unlock one candle at a time. Please pay attention to the disclaimer on your screen. And with that out of the way, let's get into the charts. Welcome back, traders, to another weekend of technical analysis. Today is the 7th of September 2025. It's about 5:51 a.m. and I'm looking at Bitcoin. I would also look at Ethereum and Bitcoin dominance in this analysis session. All right, let's start with Bitcoin, and I'd like to start on the weekly chart. I think Bitcoin is still strongly in an uptrend. As you can see, our 50 period moving average is still holding price. We're swinging around our 21 and 9, and we have actually done a similar thing right here, where we've come to the 21 and we are testing the support of this 21 period moving average. Now, the question or our thesis for this weekend is we're not analyzing a complete reversal until we get um, proof or we get evidence for a reversal of Bitcoin. Currently, what I see here is a pullback, and how deep the pullback would be is what I'm trying to figure out. We've already done our first level, which is to the 21. We initially came to our 9, we bounced off to a new all time high, and we got rejection from there. We have come now, broken the 9 period moving average on the weekly, and now we're testing the 21 period moving average again on the weekly chart. Now, last week I was saying that you usually don't get to these moving averages and just slice through them unless there's a catalyst. And I think this week we came to the 21 and we haven't been able to break the 21 period moving average right here. Now, question in the next coming week is this 21 period moving average going to hold price for a continuation, or this is just a bounce of the 21, as market makers will probably use it as a liquidity trap for people to enter long here and then push up and then bring back down. My personal thesis is that this is just a bounce of the 21, and I would explain why in a bit. Um, this 21 period moving average that we came to and we bounced off of, we made it up to the midpoint, and I call it midpoint because I still see this level here from about 119 to this level here, which is a previous support level, as a range. Okay. Now it's two possibilities that I'm looking at. We could bounce in this range for a little while before we break the 21. That's one possibility on the cards. The other possibility is that this 21 bounce is over and we are getting chewed up from the top. And ultimately, by the end of next week, we probably would break the 21 and head to our target zone of about 96,050. So that's the uh, trade buyers I have, that this 21 period moving average is not necessarily the strong support level for a continuation, and we more likely would do the pullback to about the 96,000 zone um, before, if there's a continuation, we will have our continuation. The reason, as I said, is because on the weekly, momentum is below zero on the histogram bars. Um, MACD itself, signal and MACD lines, is pretty much at the point of crossing the zero line, and that also signifies more strength to the downside. Now, that hasn't occurred yet. Now, for all that I'm saying, if next week we just happen to get a green histogram bar above here, yes, that will be invalidation of my thesis, and I'll change my bias as well. Looking at RSI, RSI is also dipped below the 50% level. Usually, once you get to the 50% level, just like we got here, okay, if that support usually will hold, it will bounce off somewhere here. And we've already literally crossed the 50% level into the bearish territory on RSI on the weekly. And so I see this bounce of the 21 as a temporary relief. Also, I also see it as a liquidity trap for the market. The market needs liquidity to keep moving. If everybody is going to buy the asset and no one is selling, that's not a fair market. And if everybody is selling and nobody is buying, that's also not a fair market. So the market will have to bounce so we get some buyers in and it might sell down again. That's my opinion based also on my indicators. Um, Step down to the daily chart and I'll show you a few things where I think my bias is leading me to my price target zone. So we didn't quite get to the bearish target, which is somewhere around here, somewhere around 105. Um, Literally the 200 period moving average on the daily is what I'm seeing as the bearish target. We didn't quite get there this past week. And when I was reanalyzing it, I was trying to figure out, okay, we bounced off the 21. Didn't I was expecting a little bit of a poke through the 21 into this zone, and then we bounced a little bit more to this rise level. But we didn't. That didn't happen exactly as I was looking at. But we got close, still within this range, and I think the pattern I'm looking at is like an ABC correction, and I'm looking at all this as a push up to somewhere here as the B, which literally occurred on Friday, September the 5th, where we had a price move all the way up to this level, and then we sold back down, and now we're bouncing slightly off this support zone here. This support zone here is on the 4 hours. I'll show you when we get there. Um, so I don't know whether for sure that that is done. Now, if we do get any candle on the daily chart, open and close above this level I have labeled B, that would be invalidation of the best target being reached anytime soon. So that's the invalidation level. So if you're going to place some stops, make sure your stops are way above this level. There's also liquidity above here, but I don't expect the market makers to go for this liquidity here at this level where I have put 0.618 pullback. Okay, now they could push it all the way back here, but I doubt that's going to be the scenario. They've already trapped enough liquidity doing this move here. When price moved all the way up to this level and it pushed back down, that traps a lot of liquidity. But in case we do get a candle open and close above here, okay, if we do get a shoot up to this level and get a rejection, trade is still valid. But if we do get a candle open and close solid green with good volume, then yes, that could be a signal that we're probably done with our pullback and there'll be a continuation to the upside. But until I get that, I cannot stick my head to the bull side. So this week, I'm expecting the Bitcoin asset to chop in between here. Potentially, this is done, but as I look at my cycles, it doesn't completely say so. So we have a cycle turned down on the daily, um, and we haven't made our low yet. So I'm still of the opinion that we'll reach the best target somehow in the coming week. Um, Looking at MACD is still on the daily chart, still above our zero line on the histogram bars. However, if I look at this move and this move here, it just tells me that momentum is drying out, you know. And Yeah, it just tells me, yeah, momentum is drying out. And actually, I think this is a divergence also on MACD. Okay, or what my brother would call a switchback. Okay, so we're coming down, find some support, pushes back up, traps a few longs, and then it continues its journey down. So this is what I'm seeing on the daily chart. Let's get to our trade time frame, which is the 4 hours. That's where I make almost all the decisions in terms of trigger and that's in terms of execution. So on the 4 hours, as we can see, we've hit that level that I was talking about which is close to the place where I say if we get a candle open and close above here, I'll call it invalidation of the pullback to break the 21. And we have sold off, and we have tapped sold off to this support zone. This support zone was a previous resistance that we broke on our way up, so now it becomes a support. And so we're testing this support level again. And once once we get here, I think this is it. I think we might just go up slightly, and then we might continue our way down. The wave pattern I'm looking at on this 4 hour chart, it's a 5 wave pattern. And I consider that as the completion of the impulse. And I see it as from the very top, which is about 124,000 that we hit somewhere in August, all the way down to August 22nd low. I see that one, and then our push up is two, and then we came down here. I consider this support here as wave three. We have done our wave four. Now I was expecting wave four to be somewhere around here. And that's why last week when I did the analysis, I said the pullback level for me was somewhere around here. But yeah, we did go slightly above our pullback or our rise target all the way up to this level of 113. Um, and I think wave four is also completed. And I'm expecting the last leg of a wave five to bring us to our 200 period moving average on the daily chart, which is the best target. And then when we do get here, I would expect a bounce off of here. Um, and we would analyze that once we arrive here. So that's my thesis and analysis on Bitcoin in the next coming week, that I'm still expecting us to reach our best target of 105. Let's quickly step into the Ethereum and Bitcoin dominance, see what those two also look like. All right, so dominance is in a strong downward trend, as we can all observe on the weekly chart. Now, strong red candles, bounce, another down. Now, last week I was saying that we were going to get this inverted hammer by the close of the week, and it was beautiful to see that it's exactly what we had. So, with this inverted hammer, which has given us a green candle, as I was saying, that I was expecting this to play out similar to how this played out with an inverted hammer, a green candle the following week, and then we sold back down. The question that I have this week that I'm trying to understand is, okay, yes, I get the downward momentum. Inverted hammers are usually in the interim reversal candles. We're getting a green candle, and I'm quite confident that this candle closes green today on dominance. And if dominance should close in green, as I'm looking at it here, then I probably would expect us to move a little bit up, probably to this level. Okay. And if we do get to this resistance level where I have placed here, journey to wave B with a question mark, determining whether we go above this level or not is critical. Okay. If we do get a candle open and close above this level here, where I have placed journey to wave B, then I would probably be expecting dominance to push up a little bit more, either to the 60% level, or potentially we may make it all the way up to about the 61.27 level. Um, Indicators wise, as you can see, officially we haven't a green MACD above our zero line for the first time, similar to what we had here around June 16th before coming down. So if you go up to June 16th, that was here. Okay. So that was one that gave us a lower high on our RSI and started off this big sell off. That sends a change of character to me on dominance. That after all this strong falling, now we having a green MACD above zero line on the weekly. It's a change that is occurring that it's important to pay attention to. So I'm paying attention to this. Is this signifying, as I was saying, that this inverted hammer that we had here from last week is giving us the beginning of kind of a reversal? to a stronger pullback on dominance to either the 50 period moving average or the 21 period moving average. It's something I'll be watching as this week unfolds. It could also be that we just poke slightly above and we'll continue our journey down. So briefly, let's also look at dominance on the daily chart, and then we might step to the 4 hours, and then we'll go look at Ethereum before our 20 minutes time limit is over. So on the daily chart, as you can see, we just moved right above our 9 period moving average, and we just going sideways between the 21 and the 9. And I think this will probably be all that we get for the rest of today. The price stays somewhere within here. But if we do break down to the lower side, then obviously, as we continue our journey down, based on our weekly chart that we looked at, that dominance is in a strong downtrend on the weekly chart. So it's very possible that we just go sideways and then we continue our journey down. For now, because of what I've observed on the weekly, I'm not expecting that too strongly. So I'm still inclining, buyers wise, that dominance will go sideways and probably push up as the week unfolds. Now, the daily chart, as I was saying, if you look at also our RSI for the first time during all our fall, RSI has now reclaimed the 50% level. Okay. And we kind of holding above it. Now, if RSI should be able to make it above the 70% level, that would be a change in character for me. And that would signify that dominance could be going a little bit further up. Looking at cycles, we have a cycle high on our daily, also suggesting that we potentially either be coming down on dominance or we just go sideways whilst our cycle timer catches up to a cycle low. So those are things that I'll also be observing on the dominance chart. Stepping to the 4 hours, and the 4 hours is actually giving us a clue that exactly as I'm thinking that we'll go up. This is a divergence on the 4 hour chart. Okay, when you come this low, form this low, and here is your divergence. Okay, and momentum is building up to the opposite side on 4 hours as I'm observing. Cycle is also low on 4 hours. RSI, as I said, is still holding its strength on the daily above the 50. And we hit our cycle low, RSI low on 4 hours and making our way back up. So potentially, I think dominance could be going up in the next coming week as well. As you can also observe visually, just with the moving averages, um, the 50 period moving average cemented our move all along. We've gone above it, come to test it, and now we're just holding above it. Now, should we break below it? It means our continuation is to the downside. But currently, as we am analyzing this, I see this as one that's potentially going to hold the 50 moving average on this 4 hour setup, and that could mean that um, dominance could be making its way towards uh, resistance level of 59.2% level. So that's something that I will be looking for in the next coming week on dominance. And for all your Ethereum lovers, let's quickly look at that in the next minute and a half. So Ethereum did a new all-time high, challenging a previous high on the monthly chart of about 4,735. Okay, so kind of a double top in my opinion right here on the monthly chart. And now we are beginning to retrace back. Now, how far would this retrace back pull up to? First, I'm expecting it to retrace back to this previous resistance that it broke here, which is the 37.47. Okay, so that's my target zone for the pullback on Ethereum. That usually once you get a breakout of a previous major resistance, usually price comes to test it before any continuation. So that's what I'm looking at on Ethereum from a higher time frame. Now, if you go to the weekly, on the weekly, we just also came back into our KC channel as price was already outside KC channel for a good 3 weeks in a row, 1, 2, 3, and now we're pulling back into the channel. And I think again here too, it supports the idea that we might pull to the 9 period moving average on the weekly chart. And so I'm still looking for the pullback on Ethereum to reach its target zone of 4,000 thereabout. And potentially, once we break this night period, then of course, my target zone is somewhere around the 0.382 retrace, which is about 3,235. And should that occur, I would expect that momentum on the weekly would continue to build up. As we can clearly see, we had our divergence bringing us down. We don't have a change in momentum yet on the weekly. So that's why I'm not looking for an upside target yet. So Ethereum, in my opinion, is still to the downside, and we're expecting it to reach our target zone of at least about 4,000 and potentially to the 3,450 level. So I think I've exceeded my 20 minutes analysis time period, and I would like to thank you for spending your time with me and listening to the analysis that we've made. Have a great trading week, everybody. Cheers.